You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's January the 20th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at paceradio.net and the 420pace.ca. Well, actually, no, 420pace.ca. G'day, Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Al. I'm well. How are you?
Not well. Take the long story short, I'm here. I'm doing all right. It's been a long morning, as we all are patients. So we all have our moments, and I had one. So
Yeah.
I'm doing all right. Otherwise, I'm doing all right. So
That's because we stand up and we still persevere.
Correct. I'm watching the snow fall instead of roots don't grow in the wintertime. So
Yep.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Anything new and exciting you gotta get into before we get into the news?
I'm going back to school again.
Going back to school.
I am taking a integration course, learning how to help people integrate specifically after Bufo or 5-MeO, which is the medicine that I just learned.
Nice. And when do you start that?
Over the weekend, I started.
Oh, all right.
Yeah,
You just started it. Good.
Yeah.
And how long is this course?
It's a short course. It's not one of these ones where you go to class. You sign up for the course, you pay for it, and it's a self-taught, self-do at home. So yeah, it'll probably take me about a month to get through it.
Yeah, and then you've got like some type of exam at the end.
Yeah. And then I qualify to take a second, this is kind of like the bachelor type course to be able to get into like the master's side of it.
Yeah.
And that course will be offered probably in the fall, and I will sign up and take that one as well.
Oh, good.
It's exciting.
There you go. Yes, exactly. It's a whole different thing. It's not something that many people are doing, and being able to learn that so you can help others is super. So
it's amazing. Yeah. So that's the exciting news in my life. Yeah.
Woo-hoo. Good. All righty. Other than that, I think it's time for us to get into the news.
It sure
Here we
is.
go. First story's up.
Coming to us from Business of Cannabis, hundreds of UK families forced to turn to illicit cannabis market due to lack of NHS access.
I read that headline. I just thought, what? This isn't right. Here we go. Hundreds of families in the UK are giving their children illegal cannabis products due to a lack of access on the NHS, according to a new report. The research commissioned by charity Madan Family Foundation reveals almost 400 families are sourcing illegal cannabis products from drug dealers and overseas retailers to treat their child's epilepsy.
Oh my goodness! This includes children at some of those under the care of major pediatric hospitals, such as Great Ormond Street, Evelina, and Birmingham Child's Hospital. Elements of the report: open secret use of illegal cannabis by families managing childhood epilepsy, featured in a BBC File on 4 Radio documentary on January 14th.
Many of the parents say their children are seizure-free or have seen a significant improvement in quality of life as a result of using these products. However, those behind the report warn that they are also at risk of contaminated products dangerous advice and dosing and drug interactions in the sudden withdrawal of supply.
The study identified 382 cases of products being accessed via online forums and chat groups, which also offered varying advice on dosing and weaning off other anti-epileptic drugs. Authors say they are aware of more social media forums where products can be obtained, meaning the number of children across the UK being given illegal treatments without clinical advice is likely to be far higher.
According to the author of the report, Alice Salisbury, she says, we spoke with parents who are adamant that going down this path has saved their child's life. It is impossible to deny that there are children who have gone from having dozens of life-threatening seizures daily to seizure freedom using these products. However, there is a huge variability in the quality of both products and the advice that parents are given.
Some families have undoubtedly managed to obtain high-quality liquids supplied by people who appear able to offer reasonable advice on how to use them. But we also witnessed many parents being given random products with no certainty on the content and advice on dosing and drug interactions that is simply dangerous. One parent told Cannabis Health she was sent oil in the post wrapped in fluffy socks with scented candles to disguise the smell, accompanied by sketchy instructions.
She added that parents who are usually law-abiding citizens should not be forced to take the risk out of desperation when it can be funded and prescribed via the NHS. The researchers also spoke to those supplying illegal cannabis oil to parents, who explained how they replicate legal cannabis-based medicines.
In the UK, there is no supply issue with cannabis. You can get it anywhere, one said. You can get THC, CBN, and specific terpenes. I can get as specific as you want. I can replicate Bedrocan. We can replicate pretty much any product that is put our way.
Now, medical cannabis was legalized in the UK in November of 2018, but fewer than 5 children, 5, have been able to obtain prescriptions for unlicensed, have been able to obtain a prescription for unlicensed cannabis-based products on the NHS. In other developed countries, including Canada and Netherlands, cannabinoid medicines derived from cannabis are routinely used as treatment for pediatric epilepsy.
And we've seen it work on children that we know.
Yeah, and 5 kids. They got 5 kids. They got hundreds are waiting.
Yeah.
And only got 5.
Yeah. Campaigners say that previous government dismissed repeated calls to help children with treatment-resistant epilepsy on the grounds that a randomized controlled trial was due to be launched. 2 randomized controlled trials investigating isolated forms of CBD and THC in drug-resistant epilepsy were announced in November of 2024, having first been promised in 2019 for 5-ish years later. The fact that these will require some patients to be given a placebo, campaigners say, is unlikely to prevent parents going to the illegal market.
Yeah. Now, MedCan Family Foundation chair and co-founder Hannah Deakin, whose son Elfie was the first person in the UK to receive an NHS prescription for medical cannabis, commented, whilst cannabinoid epilepsy treatments continue to develop in other countries, the UK is being left behind. Delinquent and loving parents and feel forced to take desperate measures in the hope of giving their children or their child the same chance for survival that children in countries like Canada and the Netherlands have. The sad reality is that if parents are given a choice between watching their children suffer or breaking the law, many, perhaps most, are going to choose to break the law, especially when they see the cannabis treatment working. They have no choice.
Oh, it was one of the things that we said here pre-legalization. You could be, legally sick or illegally cured, and many of us chose to be illegally helped or illegally healed or illegally cured, and parents are going to make that decision for their child for sure.
For sure, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The government and clinicians need to face up to this reality. They cannot continue to kick the issue into the long grass. To any families in this situation who are thinking of going down this route, we urge you to reach out to MedCan Family Foundation for confidential clinician-led advice to make sure you understand the real risks. Matt Hughes, CEO of MedCan Family Foundation and father of Charlie, who has a rare form of epilepsy called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome, added, many people will find it hard to imagine how a parent could do something like this. But imagine watching your child suffering endless seizures daily, being told that there's nothing more the NHS can do, being told you will lose them. Imagine knowing there is a medication that might stop it, but there is no way for the doctor to prescribe it.
Parents who are taking this step or taking it as a last resort, quite literally. Policymakers have the power to change the current narrative and should ask themselves, given the choice between watching their own child die and breaking the law, what would they do? What would they do?
Yep.
Sad.
Yep. Yeah, it is. I don't know what to say. I've chatted with a lot of parents over the years that have kids that have epilepsy or kids that have, ADHD or kids that are suffering, and they talk about being fearful of being in trouble because they're helping their child with, a lot of the parents that I've met, 5 or 6 over the past couple of years, especially with children with ADHD, and their kids have found healing with CBD cannabis specifically. Mm-hmm. So, they're actually not out to get high. They're out to get focused.
Yeah. Well, that's why one particular family with a 5-year-old son here in Canada back in 2013, was an intervener in the Smith case, saying, you expect my 5-year-old child to smoke cannabis? Because at that time, that's all that was legally allowed up until then was smoked cannabis. People weren't allowed to make cannabis oil or edibles or anything, even though we did.
We did.
So this, parents are breaking the law. Even though cannabis was legal for them to have, they were still breaking the law because they had to make it into cannabis oil.
Yeah.
Right? So, yes. Yeah. Alrighty. On to our next story.
Yeah. Coming to us from on Manoram. Kalira High Court's magic mushroom ruling. Is the substance illegal or not? Experts explain.
Yeah, interesting. Many reports have been coming out stating that the Kerala High Court rules that magic mushroom isn't a narcotic substance. As per the reports, the court said mushroom or magic mushroom cannot be treated as a mixture while hearing the bail plea of a petitioner who was arrested in October last year for possessing and transporting charas, ganja, and 226 grams of psilocybin-contained magic mushrooms and 50 grams of psilocin-contained magic mushroom capsules. Apparently, the court said that mushroom is to be considered as a fungi and not a mixture, and that the quantity seized in this case was not separately shown to determine whether the level of psilocybin was of commercial quantity. Does this mean magic mushrooms aren't illegal anymore? A senior excise official explains. Go ahead, Cindy.
Are magic mushrooms illegal or not in India? Yes, any activity with magic mushrooms is still illegal under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act of 1985. However, if the quantity of the seized substance is small, it might be easier to get bail. In this particular case, the quantity of magic mushroom, along with the chemical substances it was mixed with, was found to be quite low, and hence the bail. According to Section 22 of the Act, less than 2 grams of psilocybin is considered small quantity, and more than 50 grams is termed commercial. The law states that you shouldn't cultivate, possess, sell, distribute, consume, import, or export magic mushrooms, as that would be an offense.
So what is the magic mushroom? Now, according to the National Institute of Drug Abuse, magic mushrooms are a type of fungi that's found nearly on every continent and have a long history of use. They grow naturally in various regions in India, like Kerala and Karnataka of Western Ghats, Mephalana and Manipur of northeastern India, and Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh of the Himalayan region. They grow on decomposing organic matter in moist soil enriched with decaying wood or cow dung, and after the rainy season, when the environment is warm, damp yet warm, they are typically considered dried or powdered.
Are magic mushrooms good for your health? According to the medical news today, consuming magic mushrooms or shrooms can have effects ranging from euphoria to hallucinations. However, it has a high potential for abuse and serves no legitimate medical purpose. God, that was hard to say.
Yeah, I know, eh? Whoa.
The national... Yeah,
they need some news over there.
Switches, right? Like, yeah. The National Institute on Drug Abuse says people who use it can experience flashbacks anywhere from weeks to years, and also experience fear, confusion, delirium, psychosis, and syndromes.
Oh, there you go. That's the
I
end
can't
of that
believe
story.
we're going to end on that. That's
Yeah, well, you know how they people talked about cannabis for so long, right?
no medical attributes. Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there you go. Just never know, right? And from there, we're gonna switch from mushrooms to the next story.
Yeah. Coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Biden commutes sentences of nearly 2,500 people in prison for drug offenses, including some who are locked up on marijuana charges.
I see it's a long story, but we'll cover as much as we can. As of his final acts before leaving office next week, President Joe Biden he's left as of today. Joe Biden has granted another round of communications for nearly 2,500 people incarcerated in federal prison over nonviolent drug convictions, including several who are serving time for offenses related to cannabis. Biden said on Friday that with these commutations, he has now granted clemency to more than any president in history. That includes 2 rounds of mass pardons he granted to people who've committed federal cannabis possession offenses earlier in his term.
Good on him for doing this. This was a nice last call, I think. Today's clemency action provides relief for individuals who received lengthy sentences based on discredited distinctions between crack and powder cocaine, as well as outdated sentencing enhancements for drug crimes. He said in a statement, adding that the previous enactment of bipartisan criminal justice reform legislation, such as the Fair Sentencing Act and the First Step Act, underscores that it's time we equalize these sentencing disparities. This action is an important step towards righting historic wrongs, correcting sentencing disparities, and providing deserving individuals the opportunity to return to their families and communities after spending far too much time behind bars, Biden said. I am proud of my record on clemency and will continue to review additional commutations and pardons.
There's his post with President-elect Donald Trump, which is down almost that time to be president, set to assume office after his inauguration on Monday. The window to achieve that is nearly sealed. And while advocates applaud the president's clemency actions over the past 4 years, there's been lingering frustration that thousands have remained incarcerated in federal prison over cannabis-related convictions, including non-violent sale cases. According to the Last Prisoner Project, several people have cannabis convictions were included in the list of those Biden granted communications to on Friday.
And there is quite the list. If you want to take a read, Carrie Collier, Daniel Gallegos, and it's quite the list. Yeah. Weldon Anglegos, the Weldon Project in Mission Green. I commend President Biden for granting clemency to 2,500 people serving lengthy sentences for the crack powder disparity and unjust enhancements not made retroactive by the First Step Act. And this is Weldon, who received a presidential pardon under the first Trump administration for his own cannabis case.
Several years ago, Weldon was a guest on the P.A.C.E radio show.
Really?
Julie had him on as a guest.
Oh, yep. Amazing. Yeah,
that was before his pardon. So this is an important step and the first real clemency effort where people still in prison are getting a chance at freedom, and it deserves recognition. That said, I remain amazed at the lack of focus on releasing those incarcerated for marijuana offenses. Marijuana is less harmful than alcohol, yet those serving federal sentences for it continue to be overlooked, he said.
Yeah. There's still time to act. Mm-hmm. The president has an opportunity to address this injustice, and I urge him to make the cannabis clemency a priority before it's too late.
Sarah Getston, executive director and general counsel at LPP, said in a press release that this historic decision offers hope, not just for those freed today, but for all the individuals still incarcerated for cannabis and their families that have been impacted by the war on drugs. President Biden's actions reminds us that meaningful change is possible when people work together and listen to what is needed to provide true justice through second chances, she said.
Mm-hmm. Wow. The top House Democrat said the president's move will help to repair damage from the failed war on drugs that has ruined lives, broken up families, and disseminated communities. Presley is among numerous congressional lawmakers who have implored the president to exercise his executive authority and provide clemency for people who've been disproportionately impacted by the punitive drug war policies. And that call for action was amplified after the November election.
Now, responding to the latest commutations, Presley says this represents another historic transformation and compassionate step towards healing and reuniting families by commuting the sentences of thousands of individuals serving justified lengthy sentences, a direct result of the failed policies of the war on drugs. With this action, President Biden has now issued more pardons and commutations than any president in American history, and is demonstrating the power of clemency to address the injustices of our criminal legal system. I thank President Biden for acting boldly and continuing to use clemency to change and save lives. This is what we've been calling for, and this is the type of leadership the moment demands. This will be a defining part of President Biden's legacy, the Congresswoman added.
Yeah, I think she's right. Cassandra Frederick, who's the executive director of the DPA, said Biden's last commutations demonstrated to Americans that justice delayed doesn't have to mean injustice forever. These 2,500 individuals faced years, in many cases decades, of imprisonment because of the deeply flawed, racist, and draconian drug laws that politicians continue to perpetuate to this day, she said. We thank President Biden and celebrate this historic day.
However, she added that the organization remains gravely concerned that elected officials across the country and the incoming Trump administration are at risk of repeating the same mistakes of the 1980s and 90s by prioritizing criminalization and punishment over support.
Yeah, make no mistake, the same drug war playbook that ruined lives, broke communities apart, and imprisoned large swaths of American public for crack cocaine will have the same effect today, resulting in a more unpredictable, dangerous drug supply that will only put more lives at risk and more people behind bars. As we thank President Biden for his bold actions today, we will also continue our fight to change laws to support the reintegration of those Americans who will now face the arduous task to re-enter a society which has needlessly erected numerous barriers from housing and healthcare to employment. to their success. And we will also call on Congress and the Trump administration to prioritize real health solutions to drugs and the overdose crisis we urgently need to save lives.
Even as critical sentencing reforms are passed, we have watched as individuals languish in prison for charges which would now result in much lower sentences, says NACDL Executive Director Lisa Wayne. She goes on to say that this announcement rectifies this injustice. We are grateful for President Joe Biden for setting a record for the most presidential pardons and commutations in U.S. history, and recognizing the continuing impact of Americans' cruel war on drugs and the racist sentencing disparities that plagued our carceral system. In addition to providing warranted sentencing relief, this announcement is an important step in the fight for drug law reform. Well, what do you say? We shut her down there. We'll get into the next story so we can keep things on time. I think we've covered a majority of it. Biden's let these people. As
I scrolled down, it was just a lot of separate posts from people making comments about it, and just screenshots of their posts. So I think we got the majority of the story.
Okay, good. That's what I could see some names there as well. So okay, right at the bottom of the screen there. All right, the next one up and the last one before break.
Coming to us from Business of Cannabis. What could Trudeau's exit mean for cannabis here in Canada?
Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced that he plans to step down as the leader of the Liberal Party amid growing internal pressure and falling approval numbers or ratings. After nearly a decade as the country's leader, Trudeau's position has become untenable over the last few months, and his party is significantly behind the polls ahead of an election that must take place this year.
He has faced calls to resign from senior members of his own party amid mounting criticism of his handling of a looming trade war with the U.S. and his failing to bring a cost of living crisis under control. Despite his recent political woes, Trudeau leaves behind him an important legacy, having played a pivotal role in making Canada the second country on earth to legalize adult use cannabis.
Trudeau campaigned on a platform of cannabis legalization during the 2015 federal election, emphasizing regulation and harm reduction, and made good on these promises in his first few years in office, seeing cannabis legalized in 2018. However, Trudeau's cannabis legacy is not without criticism. Canada's cannabis industry continues to grapple with a number of fundamental issues. With an early federal election looking increasingly likely and the Conservatives leading convincingly in the polls, changes are likely on their way.
In December of 2024, the incumbent administration announced that it planned to explore a new excise tax system for cannabis businesses in 2025, in welcome and long-awaited efforts to cut red tape. In its 2024 fall economic statement, the federal government announced new plans to explore a transition from cannabis excise duty stamp specific to each province and territory to a single national stamp, an issue that has long dogged the industry.
The future of these plans is now uncertain. While the cannabis industry is thought to account for 20% of GDP from crop production, an election and new administration could force these amendments down the list of priorities to see them scrapped altogether or to see them gone. Yeah. The Conservative Party has historically sought stricter controls on cannabis policy, focusing on restricting medical cannabis programs and imposing home cultivation.
In 2013, they attempted to ban medical cannabis users from growing their own cannabis or designating, citing concerns about diversion into the illicit market. The party has also consistently opposed home grow rights, with efforts to amend the Cannabis Act to prohibit or limit cultivation narrowly defeated. Even after legalization, Conservatives have favored large licensed producers over small-scale or personal growers.
The Cannabis Act expanded access to the regulated supply chain, creating pathways for smaller producers with lower capital requirements. However, the source-intensive licensing process could face cuts under a Conservative government focused on reducing bureaucracy, like favoring larger companies while sidelining smaller operators. Although reducing red tape might streamline some processes, the conservatives' resistance to cannabis reform suggests limited priority for advancing the industry, potentially leading to more challenges for small businesses.
The previous conservative government under Prime Minister Stephen Harper also introduced the Marijuana for Medical Purposes Regulations, the MMPR, in 2013, replacing the former Medical Marijuana Access Regulations, the MMAR, which had allowed patients to grow their own cannabis or designate someone to grow it on their behalf, effectively banning home cultivation. The decision faced significant backlash from patients and advocacy groups, many of whom argued that it limited access and affordability. The decision was later challenged in court, eventually prompting the creation of the Access to Cannabis for Medical Purposes Regulations, the ACMPR, which reinstated the right for patients to grow their own cannabis under specific conditions.
Some commentators point to the fact that this administration introduced a regulatory system for medical cannabis that, in common sense ways, cut red tape and ensured people had access to cannabis produced under strict quality controls.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Yeah, we'll see what happens. The election hasn't happened yet. We don't know. Everybody knows what's going to happen. I know what the polls say. But we'll just have to wait till the election once it's called, and then see what the platforms are. And find out what they are on the cannabis issue, and psychedelics, and go from there. Maybe we'll be able to talk to somebody who's running. Maybe we'll have them on as a guest and find out what's
That'd be cool,
wouldn't it? All righty, it's time for us to take that break. It's break time. We'll be right back after our joint session. Actually, I'm gonna have a vape while you're gone. And you're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're live here at PACEradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at PACEradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor? If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
What do you find at PACEradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning.
I'm Cannabis edibles are an effective way to manage pain and other ailments, especially when you deal with your trusted partner, Legacy 420, in Tyendinaga Mohawk territory. You see, we lab test every product on site to ensure proper dosage every time, which is critical when consuming cannabis edibles. All Legacy 420 edibles are made by our classically trained baker and chocolatier, and we also have super tasty vegan options.
Our baker has been in the industry for 25 years. She's also a chocolatier. Everything from savory to sweet, your chocolate bars, brownies, butter tarts, you name it, we make it.
Talk to our knowledgeable Cannatex about our incredible variety available. Give your trusted partners a call. Legacy 420 out on your road.
You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
Hey, we're back and ready to bring you 4 more stories. We got some interesting stuff coming up on some psychedelic stuff, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. Always makes me happy.
All right, here we go. Right off the bat.
Coming to us from The Guardian, psychedelic drug DMT to be trialed on UK volunteers to tackle alcohol misuse.
Wow. A powerful psychedelic that is being used in healing ceremonies by indigenous groups in the Amazon is being trialed as a pioneer approach to reduce problematic alcohol consumption. DMT is the active ingredient in ayahuasca, a hallucinogenic brew that has been used for thousands of years by shamans in South Africa. Scientists based at University College London are testing whether a one-off dose of the medicine can help hazardous drinkers who want to reduce their alcohol intake.
Alcohol addiction is notoriously difficult to overcome, and there are few effective therapies available. The current treatment, the current treatments really don't work for a large proportion of people. For alcohol addiction, 50% of the people relapse within 3 months and around 60 to 70% within 3 years, said Professor Ravi Das, who is co-leading the trial at the University College London with Professor Jeremy Skipper. Treatment itself hasn't changed fundamentally in 70 years, so there's a desperate need for new medicines and treatment approaches. To the extent that DMT or ayahuasca might provide a more effective treatment approach is definitely worth exploring.
It is, in its pure form, DMT is one of the most powerful psychoactive substances found in nature. The dose we choose reliably produces strong effects, said Dr. Greg Cooper, a research fellow at UCL, adding that this included total out-of-body experiences, fully immersive hallucinations, and entering colorful geometric landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like Yellow Submarine.
Yep. A few volunteers have already begun the trial, which will include 120 study participants, making it the largest psychedelic brain imaging study to date. People seem to find the experience rewarding, but not necessarily something they'd want to do recreationally. Oh, heck to the no. I would not want to do ayahuasca or NN-DMT for fun. Yeah. Participants are given an intravenous dose of the medicine, the effects of which last for only about 15 minutes, while a control group receive a placebo or a non-hallucinogenic medicine. In the UCL trial, the scientists are using a specifically developed procedure to reactivate participants' alcohol-related reward memories. They assess whether the studied medicines can then interfere with these memories to reduce drinking. The exact details are not being disclosed, as this could bias the results.
Excessive drinking is partially driven by alcohol hijacking the brain's built-in motivation and reward system, says Das. We are seeking to counteract that with our treatment. Volunteers are given MRI brain scans while watching the film excerpts featuring alcohol, including with nail and eye and the trip, and then tracked for up to 9 months to assess whether or how and how the drug works. One theory is that it may make the brain more susceptible to being rewired at the cellular level, but the experience may also play a role.
This idea of neuroplasticity as being the mechanism for better mental health is thrown around a lot in the media because it is sciencey sounding, but it is often poorly defined, says Doss. There's probably a huge role that's played by people having this totally novel salient experience on psychedelics. They've already come into this study motivated to reduce their drinking, and this novel experience may be like a way marker in their journey that cements their commitment to drinking less. Doss's team previously showed that a one-of dose of ketamine could be used to disrupt harmful patterns of behavior. DMT is regarded as a safer and shorter acting, meaning it could be more practical to administer. However, the team emphasized the need for the medicine to be administered under medical supervision.
Yeah, Doss says, I would strongly caution against attempting to self-medicate with psychedelics at home. With DMT and all the psychedelics research coming out, it's milligram doses we're talking about, and effects outside of a clinical setting may be wildly different. The team hope the study, if successful, will pave the way for a phase 3 clinical trial. People have the impression that Gen Z are drinking less and the alcohol problems are therefore reducing, but globally problematic use is actually continuing to rise, Don says. Treatment itself hasn't changed fundamentally in 70 years. So there's a desperate need for new drugs and treatment approaches. To the extent that DMT might provide a more effective treatment approach, it is worth exploring.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it sounds to me like it'd be, as I mentioned, alcohol can take over some reward systems, and it sounds like DMT could rewire that.
Yeah, well, a lot of these medicines can help to rewire that. Ayahuasca, they're talking about what we call NN-DMT here. We've nicknamed that the spirit molecule. And it sure can help to rewire the brain and create this neuroplasticity that they're talking about. And when they talk about neuroplasticity, it's the ability that you can now rewire your own patterns with some talk therapy help. And which is why we suggest, anybody that's in the field, we highly suggest that, you have an integration specialist for afterwards to help you with that neuroplasticity and rewiring those patterns, therefore rewiring your brain and hopefully not feeling that call for the illicit drugs or alcohol anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's all part of the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. All righty, next story.
Coming to us from Marijuana Moment, cannabis, cocaine, and heroin. 3 drugs that started legal became banned and were then used in medicines.
Yeah, people say, what do you mean heroin's used as medicine? And cocaine? What do you mean? Yes, people, they are.
I knew the cocaine one. I'm going to learn about the heroin.
I opiates.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Opiate drugs. Yeah. Cannabis, cocaine, and heroin have interesting life stories and long rap sheets. You might know them today as illicit drugs, but each was once legal. When things changed, racism and politics played a part in how we viewed them. We also learned more about their impact on health. Over time, they were declared illegal.
Mm-hmm. But decades later, these drugs and their derivatives are being used legally for medical purposes. Here's how we ended up outlawing cannabis, cocaine, and heroin, and what happened next.
Cannabis plants originated in Central Asia, spread to North Africa, and then to the Americas. People grew cannabis for its hemp fiber used to make ropes and sacks, but it was also had other properties, like many other ancient medical discoveries. It all started with religion. Cannabis is mentioned in the Hindu text known as Vedas, at 1700 to 1100 BCE. Wow. That's old. As a sacred feel-good plant, cannabis or bang is still used ritually in India today during festivals such as Shivarita and Holi.
From the late 1700s, the British in India started taxing cannabis products. They also noticed a high rate of Indian hemp insanity, including what we now recognize as psychosis in the colony. By the late 1800s, a British government investigation found only heavy cannabis use seemed to affect people's mental health. In the 1880s, cannabis was used therapeutically in the United States to treat tinnitus, migraine, and insane delirium, but not everyone agreed on or even knew the best dose. Local producers simply mixed up what they had into a tincture, soaking cannabis leaves and buds in alcohol to extract essential oils, and hoped for the best.
So in the 1880s, it was used to treat insane delirium, but when Reefer Madness came out, that's what they said it caused. The crazy man. Think of the Reefer Madness video. Yep. So how did cannabis go from slightly useless legal drug to a social menace? Some of it was from genuine health concerns about what was added to people's food, drink, and medicine.
In 1908, in Australia, New South Wales listed cannabis as an ingredient that could adulterate food and drink along with opium, cocaine, and chloroform. To sell the product legally, you had to tell the customers it contained cannabis. Some of it was international politics. Moves to control cannabis use began in 1912 with the world's first treaty against drug trafficking. The U.S. and Italy both wanted cannabis included, but this didn't happen until 1925.
Some of it was racism. The word marijuana is Spanish for cannabis. Later, and angelistic to marijuana. You can see the J and the H. And the drug became associated with poor migrants. In 1915, El Paso, Texas, on the Mexican border, was the first U.S. municipality to ban the non-medical cannabis trade. By the 1930s, cannabis was firmly entrenched as a public menace, and drug laws had been introduced across much of the U.S. and Europe, and less quickly Australia, to prohibit its use. Cannabis was now a poison, regulated alongside cocaine and opiates.
The 1936 movie Reefer Madness was a high point of cannabis paranoia. Cannabis smoking was also part of other suspect new subcultures such as black jazz, the 1950s beatnik movement, and U.S. service personnel returning from Vietnam. Today, recreational cannabis use is associated with physical and mental harm. In the short term, it impairs your functioning, including your own ability to learn, drive, and pay attention. In the long term, harms include increasing the risk of psychosis.
But what about cannabis as a medicine? Since the 1980s, there's been a change in mood towards experimenting with cannabis as a therapeutic medicine. Medicinal cannabis products are those that contain CBD or THC. Today in Australia and some other countries, these can be prescribed by certain doctors to treat conditions when other medicines do not work. Medicinal cannabis has been touted as a treatment for some chronic conditions such as cancer, pain, and multiple sclerosis, but it's not clear yet whether it's effective for the range of chronic diseases it's prescribed for. However, it does seem to improve the quality of life for people with some serious or terminal illnesses who are using other prescription drugs.
Several different species of the coca plant grow across Bolivia, Peru, and Colombia. For centuries, local people chewed coca leaves and made them into a mildly stimulant tea. Coca and ayahuasca, which are both plant-based, ayahuasca is a plant-based psychedelic, were also possibly used to sedate people before Inca human sacrifice. In 1860, German scientist Albert Niemann isolated the alkaloid we now call cocaine from the coca leaves. Niemann noticed that applying it to the tongue made it feel numb.
Human sacrifice? Wow.
Oh, yeah, well, the Inca were famous for that.
Yeah. But because effective analytics such as ether and nitrous oxide had already been discovered, cocaine was mostly used instead in tonics and patent medicines. Perhaps the most famous example was Coca-Cola, which contained cocaine when it was launched in 1886. But cocaine was used earlier in the 1860s, Italy, in a drink called Vin Mariana. Pope Leo the 13th was a fan.
Hmm. And Coca-Cola, by the way, no longer uses, like they no longer use the
Yeah.
extract cocaine. They still use coca leaf. Yeah,
But
so
it's not
the
there.
coca leaf is still in your Coca-Cola. With cocaine-based products easily available, it quickly became a drug of addiction. Cocaine remained popular in the entertainment industry. Fictional detective Sherlock Holmes injected it. American actor Tallulah Bankhead swore by it. And novelist Agatha Christie used cocaine to kill off some of her characters.
Oh, in 1914, cocaine possession was made illegal in the U.S. After the hippie era of 1960s and 70s, cocaine became the it drug of the yuppie 1980s. Crack cocaine also destroyed mostly Black American urban communities. Cocaine now is now associated with physical and mental harms, and in the short and long term, it can cause problems with your heart, blood pressure, and cause organ damage. At its worst, it can kill you. Right now, illegal cocaine production and use is also surging across the globe.
If they had just left the coca plant alone, we'd have a beautiful medicine.
Yeah.
But cocaine was always legal for medical and surgical use, most commonly in the form of cocaine hydrochloride, as well as acting as a painkiller. It's a vasoconstrictor. It tightens blood vessels and reduces bleeding. So it's still used in some types of surgeries. Heroin. Opium has been used for pain relief ever since people worked out how to harvest the sap of the opium poppy. By the 19th century, addictive and potentially lethal opium-based products such as laudanum were widely available across the United Kingdom, Europe, and the United States. Opium addiction was also a real problem.
Because of this, scientists were looking for safe and effective alternatives for pain relief and to help people cure their addictions. In 1874, English chemist Charles Romilly Alter Wright created diamorphine. Drug firm Bayer thought it might be useful in cough medicines, gave it the brand name heroin, and put it on the market in 1898. It made chest infections worse.
Give it the brand name heroin. I didn't realize that heroin started with a brand name.
No,
although diamorphine was created with good intentions, this opiate was highly addictive. Shortly after it came on the market, it became clear that it was every bit as addictive as other opiates. This coincided with international moves to shut down the trade in non-medical opiates due to their devastating effect on China and other Asian countries. Like cannabis, heroin quickly developed radical chic. The mafia trafficked it into the U.S. and it became popular in the Harlem jazz scene. Beatniks embraced it, and U.S. servicemen came back from Vietnam addicted to it. Heroin also helped kill U.S. singers Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison.
Today we know heroin use and addiction contributes to a wide range of physical and mental health problems as well as death from overdose. However, heroin-related harm is now being outpaced by powerful synthetic opioids such as Oxycontin, fentanyl, and the naltrexone group of drugs. In Australia, there are more deaths and hospital admissions from prescription opioid overdoses than from heroin overdoses. What's that time?
Yeah, in a nutshell, not all medicines have a squeaky clean history, and not all illicit drugs have always been illegal. Drugs' legal statuses and how they are used and shaped by factors such as politics, racism, and social norms of the day, as well as their impact on health.
There you go. A little bit of a history on the three of them. Eh?
Wow, that was actually very interesting.
There was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of people, don't think, the doctor can only give you some painkillers, and some people don't even think about the fact that, heroin based, product coming at them, and they don't realize that.
Yeah.
So, all righty. Got the next story all lined up and ready to go. Here we go.
Okay. Coming to us from Tech Bullion, the growing popularity of psilocybin in Canada, a guide to safe access.
There we go. In recent years, there has been a significant rise in the interest and acceptance of psilocybin mushrooms across Canada. Commonly referred to as magic mushrooms, psilocybin has gained attention for its potential therapeutic benefits, especially in treating mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Better send that information to India. As attitudes shift, many Canadians are looking for reliable sources to purchase high-quality mushrooms. For those interested, it's now easier than ever to buy mushrooms online through trusted dispensaries like Canada Shrooms. The renewed interest in psilocybin stems largely from research conducted at leading universities and medical institutions worldwide. Studies have shown that psilocybin can provide lasting psychological relief when administered in controlled therapeutic settings. Furthermore, many individuals report increased creativity, mindfulness, and personal insight when using psilocybin responsibly.
In Canada, the legal framework surrounding psilocybin is evolving. While psilocybin mushrooms remain classified as a controlled substance, there have been noteworthy developments, including exemptions granted for medical and therapeutic purposes. These changes reflect a growing recognition of the potential benefits of psilocybin, further normalizing its use. Gone are the days of searching for mushrooms through word of mouth or unregulated sources, or going into the local cow pasture. With the advent of online dispensaries, Canadians now have access to safe, discreet, and high-quality psilocybin products. Platforms like Canada Shrooms make it simple to browse a wide variety of strains and products tailored to different preferences and needs.
As the stigma surrounding psilocybin continues to fade, more Canadians are exploring its potential to enhance their lives. Whether you're seeking therapeutic relief or personal growth, purchasing from a trusted online source ensures you have access to safe and high-quality products. When you buy shrooms online, you gain access to detailed product descriptions, customer reviews, and competitive pricing. Reputable dispensaries are also prioritize quality control, ensuring that their mushrooms are grown, harvested, and processed in optimal conditions.
Yeah. So here's some information how to choose the right psilocybin products. For first-time users, navigating the world of psilocybin can seem overwhelming. And here are some tips to help you make an informed choice. Start with microdosing. If you're new to psilocybin, microdosing can be an excellent way to experience its benefits without intense psychoactive effects. Many online dispensaries offer pre-measured microdosing capsules for convenience.
Different strains of psilocybin mushrooms can produce varying effects. For example, Golden Teacher is known for its balanced, introspective experience, while Penis Envy is prized for its potency. Online stores often provide detailed strain profiles to guide your selection. Now, as far as prioritizing safety, they say always choose dispensaries that emphasize secure transactions, discreet packaging, and customer confidentiality. Now, I believe they're suggesting that Canada Shrooms excels in these areas, ensuring a seamless shopping experience.
Gee, I wonder if somebody might have sponsored this story.
I wonder.
As the stigma surrounding psilocybin continues to fade, more Canadians are exploring its potential to enhance their lives. Whether you're seeking therapeutic relief or personal growth, purchasing from a trusted online source ensures you have access to safe and high-quality products. For a reliable and convenient way to purchase shrooms online, Canada Shrooms can be trusted.
Really?
Just make sure you know where they're coming from and how they were grown. I mean, a lot of the same advice when cannabis was first coming back into the mainstream. It's the same advice for mushrooms. Make sure you know where they're coming from, where they were grown from. Don't go buying anything that was grown in a swamp or et cetera, et cetera. Just be smart and safe.
Yeah, exactly. All right, to our last story of the day and the Cindy's upcoming trip. Here we go.
Yes, coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. I'm getting ready and doing training so I can go be a reporter at this. Denver Shroom Fest set to return after a successful debut in 2024. Who wants to go?
Yeah. Colorado's capital city will soon be hosting its second annual mushroom extravaganza. Following a successful launch last year, it will be held at the Real Works event venue in the River North Art District once again. The team responsible for organizing the expo revealed earlier this week that the one-day event will take place on June the 15th this time around. It is more fun-focused than anything.
June 15th. You know what? I'm open on June 15th. That's good. Our team is hard at work making sure Denver Shroom Fest 2025 is even bigger, better, and shroomier than last year. The organizers said in a social media post, it will feature live music acts, art installations, vendors, and psychedelic learning opportunities. Notable attractions from 2024 included a mushroom testing booth. Oh my God. Psilocybin cultivation workshops and trippy live painting showcases by local artists.
Situated in one of the first American states to decriminalize natural psychedelics like magic mushrooms, Denver recently hosted another psychedelics event. The Open Minds Expo also made its second ever appearance at the Jonas Brothers Center in the city's art district last November. State citizens are known for their progressive outlook on topics like legalization of cannabis and psychedelics. In recent years, a church on the city's north side has hosted attendees for an educational class known as Microdose Mondays. The host, Travis Tyler Fluck, gives his students room capsules on the way out the door at the end of each course. The session costs $30.
Okay, so when I go down to Denver, I have to be there for Monday. I got to go to this.
I see it's on a Sunday.
Right? So yeah, I'm just gonna have to be there. I'm there.
I'll do the Monday. I'll get Glenn to fill in for you on the Monday.
On that Monday, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay, and that way you can go.
I'm in.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, yes. If we're continuing on, psilocybin therapy is now permitted in Colorado. I'm sorry, I got really excited in my mind planning my trip. Legal measures passed by voters 3 years ago came into effect as residents celebrate at the beginning of the new year this month. Healing centers will be popping up at an increasing rate throughout Colorado in the coming weeks. The state has invested millions in new regulatory measures for this variety of psychedelic therapy.
Next year, the other natural psychoactive plants and their derivatives will become legally accepted as mental health treatments here too. These include iboga, ayahuasca, and mescaline-bearing caca like San Pedro. Before psilocybin therapy became prescribable in January, a psychedelics church set up in Colorado Springs local's basement had become increasingly popular among state residents.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
How exciting.
You can hardly wait to go.
I can. Yeah, no, I'm Colorado in June.
Well, yeah. You get to go. That would be great. And we'll have you walking around covering the event, like you say, right?
Yeah. Give me some training. Get me ready.
Yeah. All right. Okie dokie. Anything else?
No, I can only focus on Colorado in June right now. I'm really excited.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I think today we started the show with a very disturbing story of the children in the UK. 400 kids waiting for access to cannabis. Well, only 5 have legal access. Yeah. It's just not right. And it was good to end on a fun story.
It was.
We started. Yeah. All righty. Other than that, folks, from the Legacy420.com news desk, That's our news report for today. Thanks to our buds at Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, Legacy420.com, and At-Eze.ca. And other than that, thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. Bye-bye.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at PaceRadio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at PaceRadio.net.